Hello everyone and welcome to an overview on how to play Pyra. Quick heads up that I will not be discussing her combo game in this video as I have a separate video that goes pretty in depth about the topic already. Link in the corner and in description. Today I want to go over stuff like movement, game plan, shield safety, frame data, and more. So let's start by breaking down what Pyra is. Yes, I know she's a blade, but what I actually mean is her archetype in Smash Bros. You see, in Smash Ultimate, there's a bunch of different archetypes that characters fall under for easy categorizing, and Pyra slots in as a sword character, or swordy, meaning that majority of her moves don't have a hurtbox attached to them, and these are what we call disjointed hitboxes, or disjoints for short. We have fast swordies like Marth and Roy, and then we have slower, harder hitters like Pyra, Ike, and Byla to name a few. Marth, for instance, wants to wall you out with his hitboxes and keep you away. Roy, on the other hand, wants to get up in your face and pressure you. The harder hitters play a bit differently than these two as they have more range and power. I just want to make this distinction clear as it's going to serve as building blocks for what I'm going to talk about later when I circle back to playstyle and game plan. The big one I want to get out of the way first is Pyra's movement, because it's surprisingly complicated and hard to master. A lot of people get the impression that she's slow, but you need to understand. She's Sakurai's favorite Aegis, so therefore he blessed her with this. This is exactly what makes Pyra so much fun to move around with. It's probably going to feel clunky when you start out, and getting used to everything is going to take a while. Mastering her air drift, jump arcs, and fast fall timings is very important, especially for landing aerials and mixing up the timings. With her floatiness, you can delay for quite a long time before you pull the trigger. Her airspeed also allows for retreating and advancing aerials by holding forward or back. And if your opponent has caught onto your timings, you can begin doing empty landings and empty hops, which opens up a whole new layer of mind games. With this, you can delay an attack even longer or fake out to bait something out from your opponent. It's all about making your opponent guess, and I'll talk about it more in depth further into the video. So yeah. When you get the hang of her movement, you'll be able to weave in and out of the opponent's range and projectiles no problem. When her movement is mastered, she looks really fast and fluid, and I'd look to Spargo, Shuton, and Tickle for inspiration. By the way, I'm tired of hearing insert top player here makes Pyra look fast. No dude, Pyra looks fast because she is, and you just don't know how to play her this way. Anyway. Next up, I want to talk about her frame data for a bit. Majority of Pyra's moves have a ton of range, but they also have a lot of startup to compensate. Down tilt, grab, and jab are the only moves that have single digit startup, everything else is double digits. Why is this important? You see, a lot of people try to play Pyra like a traditional sword character, attempting to wall the opponent out with their hitboxes to keep them away. Simple enough, right? However, unlike swordies like Marth, Korn, and Byleth, she doesn't actually have the frame data to consistently wall people out. Her attacks have a lot of startup in addition to a decent amount of end lag. So every attack is a commitment for her, and every miss is an opportunity to get punished. Meaning that, when she strikes, it has to be with intentionality. She simply cannot afford to miss and put herself in a vulnerable position. In short, Pyra can't mash, and she usually gets bopped when you try. The auto-cancel window on her aerials are her saving grace though. Up air, back air, and down air all auto-cancel on short hop, meaning you get no landing lag when you land again. This way, you can laglessly move around the stage while putting out hitboxes as you go. Pyra's shield safety is a topic I've talked about on my channel numerous times in the past. Overall, Pyra's attacks aren't as safe on shield as most other swords in the game, but it's still very respectable. Up air is the most safe on shield out of all of them, sitting at -4, meaning that the opponent needs a move that is frame 4 or faster at a shield to punish her, which, thankfully, is only a small handful of characters. After that we have all the moves that are -9, forward tilt, forward air, back air, down air, and down tilt. Forward air, back air, and down air are always -9 on shield regardless of spacing, while forward tilt and down tilt need to be spaced out properly. Forward tilt is especially safe on shield because of the massive range, and it's really difficult for most characters to punish. That being said, -9 still isn't great, and she gets punished out of shield by a lot of the other top tiers. Against most of the casts though, Pyra can wail on their shield for free a lot of the time, provided you're spacing your attacks well. So, how does Pyra want to play then, you may ask? As I alluded to earlier, because of her frame data, Pyra isn't really the best at approaching. In fact, she would rather want the opponent to act first so she can focus on getting into position. And by that I mean, as Pyra, you don't really need to hold forward that much. Sometimes it's actually better to do nothing at all, and the opponent will come straight to you. Doing nothing is extremely underrated, and with how mashy ultimate can be, it's really helpful. Plus, with how laggy Pyra's moves are, you actually want to not attack that much, so you can attack when it really counts. Again, I reiterate, as Pyra, you don't always need to approach. So, because of how she's designed, Pyra wants to take it slow and wait for an opportunity to attack. She wants to keep the opponent at mid-range, close enough so she can still pressure or hit them, but not so close that the opponent can hit her. This can look like hitting someone's shield and punishing them for attempting to punish you. Sometimes it's as simple as waiting for your opponent to act first. Which, I know, crazy concept. Essentially, you want to hover just outside of the opponent's range. Which, admittedly, is difficult because you need a lot of character and game knowledge to pull it off properly. Additionally, you need really good positioning, and to get that, you need to know how to move with Pyra effectively. I talked about making the opponent guess earlier in the video, and this is where I want to flesh that out. Because Pyra is fastest while in the air, you're going to be jumping a lot, and the opponent is expecting that. If you do an aerial every time you jump, it's going to get predictable, and we don't want the opponent to parry you, do we? So it's important to incorporate empty hops and empty landings into your game plan to keep your opponent guessing. When you're about to land, there's an expectation that an aerial is going to come with it, right? So your opponent gets their shield up in order to parry. But then, nothing came. Your jump didn't include an attack. Now your opponent dropped their shield for nothing. What's cool about this is that the opponent is stuck in their drop shield animation, which takes 11 frames. That's plenty of time for you to do whatever you want. The fun part is, now the opponent has to think about whether an attack is even coming. And that's a lot to add to the mental stack. We love adding stuff to the mental stack. Every time you jump, it's a guessing game of, is Pyra gonna attack me or not? Because they have no idea when you're gonna strike anymore. And this is how you make Pyra actually scary to fight against. If your opponent guesses wrong too many times, they might start to panic. Maybe they start preemptively jumping out of shield. Or perhaps they're so scared they hold shield, which opens up for grabs. And grabs are great for Pyra, I'm tired of people saying otherwise. As you can see, the layers of mind games can get pretty crazy. I wouldn't have been on a tangent there, but I hope I managed to get across just how powerful Pyra is when she's played this way. Speaking of scared opponents, oh boy. I wanted to make a section for this because I do think it is important. As Pyra, you're always looking for opportunities to mess up the opponent in the worst way possible. If your opponent has a bad habit, they're going to explode for it. Pyra is just really good at exploiting the opponent for the smallest things, provided you know what you're doing. If you like paying attention to opponents' patterns and calling them out for doing the thing, Pyra enables you in the best way. See bad habit, opponent explode, it's free serotonin and dopamine, baby. I don't know, I just wanted to talk about this somewhere because I love it so much and it's so much fun. And that's going to be the Pyra guide, with a bunch of topics and concepts you probably didn't expect. As you can see, I focused more on movement, neutral, mind games, baiting, and such. I just think that's more important for people looking to play Pyra, or for people who want to better understand how to play to her strengths. For combos and kill confirms, I have a separate video you can watch here. Thanks for watching.